Greetings, music makers. I'm Dr. Cayari. In this video, we'll be talking about what is rhythm. As a definition, rhythm is the arrangement of sounds according to duration and emphasis. So as we look deeper into what rhythm is, we'll be looking at music notation, note values, and then we'll play a little bit with musical math. In music notation, we often see 5 horizontal lines grouped together. Horizontal meaning going from side to side. Those 5 lines are called a staff. You'll also see vertical lines. Those lines are called bar lines. There are a number of different types of bar lines, and sometimes you'll see them grouped in 2. However, they're still called bar lines. If you have one thin and one thick line at the end of a staff, that's called an end bar line. The space between bar lines, as you see here, are called measures. And oftentimes at the beginning of a staff, you'll see 2 numbers on top of each other. That's called a time signature. The top number of the time signature tells us the number of beats per measure, and the bottom number tells us which note gets the beat. The numbers in a time signature remind me of fractions. For example, if you had the fraction 1/4, what would you call that? Some people might say a fourth, and others might say a quarter. In music, when a time signature has a 4 on the bottom, that means that the quarter note will get a beat. This trick also rings true when you have 1/2, which is also known as a half, or 1/1, which is a whole. So if we have quarter, half, and whole, what other number and note do you think might be common on the bottom? It's an 1/8 note. The most common time we're used to hearing, especially in Western music, is 4/4. So sometimes instead of writing 4/4, we use C as a shorthand. That stands for common time. So now let's review note values. On the screen you'll see 4 different types of notes: a whole note, half note, quarter note, and 1/8 note. You'll also see the rests that correspond with each note, and how many beats each of those notes and rests get in common time. So let's put some music notation and note values together and make some musical math. Here you see a time signature with a rhythm after it. This is called stick notation, so the quarter notes and 1/8 notes don't have any heads. Looking at our time signature, we realize that the number of beats per measure is 4, and the quarter note gets the beat. So we want to make sure that each measure's note values add up to 4. In the first measure, we have 4 quarter notes. Each quarter note gets 1 beat, so we'll put 1s under each quarter note, and then we'll add them up, which equals 4. In the second measure, we have 2 half notes. Each of those get 2 beats. We add those 2 2s together, and that equals 4. In the third measure, we have 4 1/8 notes. So each of those will get half a beat. And then we have 2 quarter notes. Those will get 1 beat each. Our 4 halves will equal 2, and our 2 1s will equal 2. And then we add those together, and that'll equal 4. And in our last measure, we have a whole note. And how many beats is that worth? 4. Looks like we're done with this one. Here's another rhythm. Why don't you pause the video and write down the values of each note. When you come back, we'll add them up. Here are the note values. Measure 2 looks great. Now we can add up the first measure. 2 halves equal 1, 1 plus 2 equals 3, and 1 plus 3 equals 4. Now let's do the last 2 measures. Let's go ahead and group these together. We can add them up, and it looks like we're good. Now let's look at one with some rests. Let's put the numbers under each note and rest, but this time I'm going to skip a step. When we have 2 1/8 notes together, we'll just call that 1. It looks like our last measure is good, and if we add up all the others, they all equal 4. And here's one last example. You'll notice that there is an 1/8 rest at the very beginning, followed by an 1/8 note. When we put our note values under, it's going to look exactly as if it was 2 1/8 notes. So let's go ahead and fill out the rest of the line, and if we add them all up, they're all equal to 4. So now it's your turn. In the description box below, I have a link to a PDF of a worksheet I created where you can practice musical math. If you learned something in this video, don't forget to like it. If you want to learn more about musical concepts, click over here and I'll tell you what melody is. And if you'd like some practice about learning how to count rhythms, click on this video. And finally, if you'd like to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any of the resources I create, click on my face right over here. And until next time, keep on making music.